there, Mama. I'm Courtney Cecil, proud mom of two boys and an organizational culture and behavior change executive. And I'm a believer in building a movement to help the burned out, overwhelmed working moms reclaim their control and free time so that they can confidently remain in the workforce without losing their sanity or themselves. Now, let's get started. Hey, y'all, I'm your host, Courtney Cecil, and welcome back to another episode of the Life Management System. So, this episode is going to feel a little bit different. It's going to be very raw, very vulnerable, and it's going to make me a little uncomfortable. I'm not going to lie, but I have learned one thing from you all over the past couple months, and that is you very much value the real, honest, raw truth. And I was actually quite surprised that my best performing episode would be one where I tell my story. And it was materially better and performed materially better than many of my others where I've had some really notable guests. So that's my indication that you really want the peek behind the scenes. So I'm going to give it to you. I might regret this one day. I don't know. I don't watch reality TV. It's just not my thing. TV as a whole, I don't do a lot of, but I certainly don't watch reality TV. I imagine though that it must feel like some of the stories I'm about to share, where I'm only going to give you snippets, because it was just so long ago, but it is particularly relevant to a topic very near and dear to my heart. So if you've been around here for a while, you know I talk a lot about values. Why? Because being clear on what you value is absolutely paramount to what I teach. Because as somebody that used to sit in the corporate space around culture, I know how foundational they are to organizations. And it was that insight that I realized is so applicable to the decisions that I make. And it is that foundational principle that everything in a life management system is built on top of. So today, in the spirit of Thanksgiving and all that I'm personally thankful for, I am going to bring that concept to life by spilling the tea on how my high school experience in Little Tazewell, Virginia, shaped one of the most core values that I have today. And that's the value of relationships. I lean in real hard. And I do that because of a lot of what I've experienced in my past, some of the scar tissue. And we're going to talk about that. But I also know that the way that it comes across for me is one of love. Like I lean in really hard and I'm willing to lean as far as somebody else is willing to lean. I also am a believer in building a relationship with my boys that will outlast them being in my roof. So some of you might have heard me say that before. Like one of my goals in life is to be future besties with my boys. So I am constantly thinking about relationships and investing in them. I also lean really in to the relationships I have with my clients. So, as an example, I was doing a testimonial interview with one of my recent clients, and I asked her what surprised her most about working with me. She said, actually, it's how accessible and engaged I am. But I'm like that because it's a core value of mine. I lean in. Or my friends will say that despite me being the busiest person they know, I'm also always the person that remembers what's happening in their life and initiates time together with them. So I initiate it, I schedule it, I seek it out, and I commit to doing it. But here's why I do that. Here's why I deeply value friendships. It's because in high school and kind of beyond in middle school, my quote unquote friends cared more about tearing me down than they did on bettering themselves. So I'm about to introduce you to 8 different Regina Georges from my childhood. And those are the stories that I'm going to say them out loud just for the sake of this conversation. And it's going to sound extra cringe to me. And it's probably going to sound extra cringe to you because it sounds as childish as these stories are. But these are the stories that made me who I am, that made me resilient, that made me hustle, that made me care more about what I'm doing than what anybody else is doing, because I can only control me at the end of the day. So for those people out there that care more about other people than themselves, I'm sad for them. And that happened to be the case for many of these girls. But it's also what led me to a place where relationships have become the most important thing because I didn't have genuine, real relationships then. They were very superficial, very surface level. And to call them a friend most of the time was a push. So here are the eight Regina Georges of my childhood. Or eight of the nine, I should say. I'm leaving the saltiest of them out. So it all started in middle school when my best friend at the time, we'd been best friends for quite a while, lied. Like I can't, it just feels so silly when I say it out loud as a grown adult. So my best friend, we had been best friends for 5 years at this point, like literally did everything together. She lied to my boyfriend and said that I called home when I was at my family beach trip. Mind you, at this day and age, calling home from beach was long distance and required calling cards. So the logistics for a sixth grader is a fairly material thing. Needless to say, I did not have a calling card. I did not actually call her from the beach. But yet she'd convinced my boyfriend at the time, I should air quote boyfriends too, it was sixth grade love for all that's worth. She had convinced him that I called home from the beach and told her that I cheated on him. Clearly, that did not happen. But it was very upsetting to me. It completely disrupted my life, but also my perception of what was real and not, because she was my best friend of 5 years at this point. And I just couldn't believe that somebody that I thought was my friend would do something like that. But then I learned that when somebody calls you a friend, they don't actually mean it. Because there were many more Regina George stories. So her story does not end, but that was just the tipping point, and what got me to a place where, we did not remain friends. Then the next year, I think I'm going through like every year from middle school to high school with a completely different story. So this is seventh grade. Seventh grade, the Regina George of the time decided to invite my entire graduating class, like all 120 of us, to her house for an end of year party. She personally put invitations on everybody's desk and everybody's locker, or whatever it was. I don't remember. But she purposely and exclusively left me out. I was the single only person in the entire grade that wasn't included. And then the next year, another girl, another Regina George, decided to make up a story about me to entice one of the biggest bullies in the class several grades ahead of me to put a target on my back. Then you fast forward to high school. So high school, I'm just going to skip the first 3 years. I'm going to go straight to senior year, which was enough for me to be just crawling my way out of there. There was a group that I ran around with. We were apparently close at the surface level. We were not actually close because here's some of what transpired. My high school sweetheart and I had a bump in the road. And he and I had always sat beside each other in this one class. And I came in, and not only were two of my closest girlfriends, like arguably my two closest girlfriends, sitting where I normally sat, but we're like paws all over him. It's like, wow, we just broke up yesterday. Or with that same boyfriend, my best friend lied to him to put herself in a position that would make it look like she was a hero and that I was gallivanting around with zero cares about him. Like, what? Why? Why? I am your best friend. Why are you doing this to me? Why are you trying to tear me down in order to build you up? For what reason? Why? It just is mind blowing. Or there was another girl in our little group that was getting married, and she sent personal invitations, including to her showers and all the things for her wedding, to everybody but me. She got married right out of high school. That was incredibly hurtful. Perhaps not as outwardly mean as much as it was just exclusive, but incredibly hurtful. And then to top that same story off, there was another girl in our little group that invited all of the other people in our group to celebrate the bride, but excluded me. And when I found out about it after, it was only because she had the courtesy of saying, I wanted you to know that I had this and you weren't included because I didn't want you there. I was like, wow, thank you for that. And she also had the courtesy, which I actually did appreciate, to be like, and your best friend, you might want to sleep with one eye open because she has divulged X, Y, and Z about you. Of course, none of which were true. So I was like, wow, okay, this is my high school experience. Again, it just sounds so petty and childish when I say it out loud. And it felt childish then, and it certainly, into my 40s sounds just as childish. But I bring it up for a reason because it informed everything about me. It informed the fact that I am not going to sit around with a victim mentality. I am in charge of me. And as soon as I could escape little Tazewell, Virginia, you better believe I'm going to prioritize finding my people and I'm never going to let them go. And I did have, in the defense of several of these girls, they did come back later and say, I'm really sorry that I did this to you. I think there was probably some embarrassment and shame. And I really sincerely appreciated those apologies because they were friendships that I very much valued at the time and I thought were going to last a lot longer than they did. But as much as I know that people do grow up and they do change, and I hope the best for them, they at least had helped inform me in what it was that was important to me. And those are the type of friends that I found in the future. So instead of falling back into old habits and old friendships that did not serve me, I found my people. So that's my story. Those are my scars. That's like those scars, that's what informed what I value. For you, maybe it's that you value financial security because you grew up with little to nothing. Or maybe you grew up with an alcoholic in the family who spent most of their time on the couch. So you value taking action. Or maybe you lost a parent to cardiac arrest. So you value your health. Our values should guide so much of the way we do life. And oftentimes they do, just not intentionally. But here's the thing, when you articulate it, it can unlock everything about how you spend your time and make your decisions. So, as an example, because I value friendships, I commit to getting together. I say, "Hey, I haven't seen you in a while. It's time we make something happen." And I'm going to commit to it. But because I commit to it, I book 6 months out. It's actually a running joke with most of my friends. They're like, ha ha ha. Like, if you want to get on Courtney's calendar, you need to book 6 months out. But the reason I do that. It's not because I'm so busy. I mean, like, yeah, I'm busy, as we all are. But the real problem is that I say yes to the things I care about without guilt. And if I care about you and you have something going on, I'm going to fangirl like crazy. I'm going to show up for it. Or if it's been a while since we've been together and we just need some quality time, I'm going to get that scheduled. I'm actually going to say, you know what? Here's a date. Let's do this. Another example for me, despite how hard it is to get on my calendar, despite how full it is, I have 3 days a week where I have recurring meetings with a different friend. So some of them I only talk to every 6 weeks. Some of them I talk to as much as every other week. It really just depends on the relationship. But I have recurring meetings for the first hour to 2 hours of my day when I'm getting ready every single Tuesday to Thursday. Like that's what it means when you know that what your priorities are. You make it happen. You actually commit and you make it happen. And that goes back to the value, the reason values matter. When you're clear on what you value, you know what to prioritize. When you know what to prioritize, you know how to spend your resources being time, money, and energy. So because I value my relationships so deeply, I invest in them fully. Like that is my time, that is my energy. But bottom line, regardless of what scars you have, don't be a victim. Use those scars to inform what it is you value, to be really clear about those being a value to you, to those being something you want to intentionally design your life around, because that's ultimately going to help you live a life with intention that feels very aligned with what you're trying to create and what feels good for you. And that's ultimately going to bring you peace. But speaking of peace, and relationships. If you like rest, if you like relationships, if you want to actually choose you and it's important for you to do that, I have an invitation to join me in a place where you can get all three, where you can get the rest, you can get the relationships, and you can get to a place where you choose you. And that is my inaugural retreat for working moms. Inaugural, that's a really hard word to say. Inaugural. Um, inaugural. I think I got it right. So my inaugural Working Moms Retreat, it is a place where I'm hoping you can get rest, where you can build relationships with other people that are in the same stage of life as you, and you can choose you. So I am part of a Facebook group for career moms here in Charlotte. And one of the themes the past week has been about how hard it is to make relationships like real meaningful relationships where you can belly laugh, where you can go deep with people. When you're mid-career, you're post-baby, like your life is just consumed with all this stuff. So this retreat will help solve for that. It will take place the first full weekend in February. And we intend to keep it very intimate because we want it to be, we want there to be enough people where you feel like you can find your people. But we also most especially care about connection and it feeling peaceful enough that you can truly reset and recharge while you are there. It is at the biggest spa in Florida at the Amarant Resort in West Palm Beach. It is 4 floors of spa. It is beachfront. Every single room has a oceanfront balcony. I think it's very affordable for what it is. We will spend Thursday evening to Sunday morning together, pouring into yourself, relaxing, building relationships, having a great time. Naturally, I'm going to link that in the show notes. If you have any questions about the retreat itself, I'd be happy to talk to you, as would my co-retreat lead, Laura Young. She is the founder of Laura Young Travels, so luxury travel. But I'll link that in the show notes. I would love for you all to join us. We have just 4 more spots available. So we are almost at capacity, and I'm very, very excited about that. But to bring us home in the spirit of Thanksgiving week, I just want to say thank you to those early champions, especially of moms movement, many of which I haven't even met. You are otherwise strangers on the internet, but you've become my friends. I want to say thank you. I want to say thank you for believing in the mission and for being some of the early adopters of some of the concepts that I introduce. And to my friends who never stop asking about this business because they know how important it is to me. So, Brooke, Laura, Catherine, Janae, you girls know how obsessed I am with this business, and you are here to match my energy around it. And I see that and I appreciate it. It lights me up. And to my clients who have trusted me as a thought partner on their journey, you have opened up your lives to me. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. To my colleagues, whether it be official or unofficial. So, Leah, my assistant, we have been together for right at 2 years now. My co host, Laura, that I just talked about of this retreat, Caroline of Home Team, Christine at Peacock Parent, Sarah at Viviamo, the women of my mastermind. Oh my gosh. My girlfriend Kelly of Life Intended has so graciously organized this powerful mastermind of essentially mostly coaches where we come together and lift each other up and learn. Y'all are the reason that this doesn't feel lonely, that I don't feel like I'm in this by myself. And to my best friends, the ones that I picked as soon as I graduated college, I would pick you every time. And I kid you not, guys, I would still have the same bridesmaids 15 years later. We are still that close. I might have picked up a couple more along the way. We might be living literally states apart, but I would still choose you every time. You are my people. You are who I value. But most especially to my best friend, Richard. I would pick him every time. Oh, I don't know why this is so emotional for me. Um, I hate when you've been dating somebody for 20 years, but Richard knows my skeletons. He knows all of the hardships and the scar tissue that I have. He knows the impossibly high standards that I have for myself and therefore our family. And he loves me through it all. Um, so Richard, I love you. And I'm so grateful for you. Oh my gosh. And then last to my listeners, I want to thank you as always for tuning in. So as you say your prayers this Thanksgiving, don't just look back. Look forward and think about how you can double down on those things that matter the most to you. But until next time, friends, know that you're doing a great job. You've got this, mama. Hey, friend, thanks for tuning in. Add the Life Management System podcast to your favorites so you don't miss my practical, snack sized tips to help you manage the mental load and create a life that works for you. If we're not yet connected on Instagram, come say hi at Working Moms Movement for daily inspiration. And if this is your third or 10th time listening, it's time you bless the small business. Share this episode with another working mom in the thick of it and take 30 seconds to rate and review. It helps more than you know. And if you're ready to go from surviving to thriving and make your day-to-day actually sustainable, email me at Courtney@workingmomsmovement.com. Mention this podcast for 25% off my coaching services. I also speak and host workshops for organizations that want to support working parents from the inside out. Reach out if you think yours is ready. This has been the Life Management System, your shortcut to less chaos and more calm. And here's your reminder to keep managing your life instead of letting it manage you.